All right, guys, John here. It's pretty nasty outside, so I didn't get to do anything over the weekend really outside. But I figured today we'd just take a look at the emission system, of course, found on this 5R and also 5Ms that are 90 horsepower and up. So this does have an EGR, so some of the exhaust is being ran through this EGR cooler. There's a valve on the other side which regulates how much, and then it goes back into the intake. But the rest of the exhaust goes, of course, to powering the turbo. And then out of the turbo, there is actually an exhaust brake. We'll get to the exhaust brake a little bit later, but let's get up on top here and cover the DOC. All right, guys, so under the hood here, up on top of the engine, of course, this is where the exhaust is leaving that exhaust brake, going past this NOx sensor. You can see here, multi-wire sensor. There should be a module somewhere. Looks like it's probably mounted on the back side of that firewall. So, of course, the information from this sensor goes to a module that is on the CAN bus, and then the information is relayed from there. So then from the NOx sensor, we have a temperature probe for in to the DOC. This is the DOC. Basically, guys, the DOC is like a honeycomb deal inside, and it's there to break down CO and HO. We won't get too much into the chemistry, but just be aware that's breaking that down because of the honeycomb inside here of precious metals, and also with a little bit of diesel fuel. Now, this diesel fuel is not sprayed in anywhere here. It's actually dumped into the exhaust on the exhaust stroke. So when that piston is coming back up, our exhaust valve is open. The injector is dropping a little bit of fuel down in the cylinder, and that's being pushed into the exhaust. And from here, with that chemical reaction, then this temperature rises in this catalyst. That's why there's two sensors. So it checks the inlet temp and the outlet temp. If everything is going well inside this catalyst, then the exhaust out of the DOC will be higher. So 75 and below horsepower wise, you'll notice there's a bigger canister under here, and that's because it contains the DPF. So the DPF is basically a soot filter which builds up over time and then uses fuel with an injection right into the filter to burn it out. But nonetheless, this has a DOC and an SCR. So that exhaust coming out of the DOC comes down, and then on the back side here, I don't know if you guys can see that. Let me get the light. See if you guys can see that back there. That's actually the DEF injector. So what that's doing is it's spraying urea into the mixing tube here, and then from the mixing tube it comes up through the SCR catalyst in here, and then I would say there's probably also a little bit of a muffler in here as well. Not too much, because of the catalyst, of course, reduces some of that noise. But what's happening here is we are basically reducing the NOx. Again, you've seen that NOx sensor on the exhaust pipe, basically right after the exhaust brake. And we actually have another one right here looking at the NOx, of course, coming out of the pipe. Again, like I said, every NOx sensor has a module, and this one you can see is underneath this shield right here. At least, I don't know how much they are from Deere, but I know from work these modules are pretty pricey. We'll touch back on the exhaust brake. You may wonder why there's an exhaust brake on this engine, and that's mainly due to increasing the exhaust temp rapidly, because you need the exhaust temp up before you can actually start dosing urea in. That way it's hot enough to break the urea down into ammonia. And then, of course, from there, that's how it reduces the NOx. You need that temperature up to properly turn the DEF. And also, you want to make sure that temperature is up so that there's no condensation in this system. If there's condensation in the system and the NOx sensors were turned on to read, there is a chance that the NOx sensors could fail because of moisture on the sensor itself, believe it or not. So you can see here how we get from engine to exhaust. A few other things. Of course, on this side we have our DEF fill and a little level indicator glass. One thing you may want to know is that here I did just quarter turn it. If you pull this out of here, guys, okay. Normally there'd be a screen here. That's interesting. I guess just like the fuel screen, a screen on the DEF inlet is optional. Go ahead and lock that back in. So you don't have to worry about that. But we will take a look at where the actual DEF pump and filter are. So for that we need to crawl underneath. So if we crawl underneath here, guys, you know, we're right next to the DEF tank. There is a little shield that covers this. It's kind of hard for me to show you guys. Like so. One of those slip shields. Not a real big deal really. But inside that shield, you can see right above me there is the actual pump and the filter for the pump. If you needed to actually get to this pump, it may be a little bit of work. You'd have to remove this whole bottom protective shield for the filter and the DEF tank. But that is where the DEF filter is. I believe there's a screen on the bottom of the sending unit in the tank, but I think that is it. Let me know in the comments if you guys know where there's another DEF filter on this tractor, but as far as I'm aware, we have a filter here and kind of pretty much a screen on the bottom of the sending unit for the urea. Other than that, guys, of course there's a sending unit on top of this tank somewhere. I don't know exactly where it is, but that sending unit is looking at temperature, DEF level, and of course DEF quality. So hopefully, guys, you found this video informative. I just wanted to share with you guys what the emission system actually looks like on a 5M, 90 horse and up, and of course a 5R. Because there's really not much information out there. Of course, Deere doesn't publish it, but of course I like to know what I'm buying. So anyhow, guys, hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for watching, and we will get back outside hopefully at some point here. So catch you guys later.